Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us. We are here to talk about all of the great things that we learned at IBS 2026. Lots of stuff around businesses and how they're looking to grow, some of the technology they're using to get there, and how we can help. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items. Everybody it's an attendee is going to be in a silent mode for the duration of the presentation, but we'd love you to send any questions that you have in through the chat. So please, at any point in time, if anything comes up, feel free to leave us a note. We're also going to be having a fun little raffle going on. So we would not be technologists if we did not mention anything about AI, which is a pretty key theme this year in IBS around sessions and a lot of the different vendors and things that we talked about with people. So we will be having a little contest. If you want to count the number of times that we say AI during the presentation and put it into the chat, we're going to have a giveaway for a Yeti tumbler. So we'd love you to participate in that.
We don't know how many times we're going to say it, by the way. So it's a surprise to us, just like it's going to be a surprise to you.
All right, thanks. So here with us today, my name is Jessica Finch. I'm the sales executive at HomebuilderONE. We have Heather Hall joining us, who's the managing director for HomebuilderONE practice, and we have Ryan Grant, who's the chief strategy and revenue officer here at sa.global. So thank you both for coming to have a chat with us today.
Absolutely.
Very welcome. And yes, this is pretty unscripted, so we have no idea how many times we're going to say.
Thanks. Well, we had a really great week at IBS, right? Tons of really good conversations with builders. Lots of different things came up. I would say one very key theme that we hit on from big builders, small builders, and everybody in between was this kind of idea that a lot of folks are working in a disconnected landscape, right? They've got one system for accounting, one thing for construction management, really not able to centralize any of their data, working in silos, lots of double entry spreadsheets. I wanted to kind of open the conversation with this idea that, you know, we can look at things as a platform, or we can kind of go into this best of breed scenario, just kind of talking through, you know, what does that really mean, right? When we talk about a platform, and how can we utilize that setup to be a better organization and to help our builders make better choices as they're trying to grow their business.
Heather, you want me to start that off from
Yeah, go ahead and start.
Higher level?
Yeah,
absolutely. So, I mean, that's been an important question that we've tried to wrap our heads around, regardless of industry, for a long time, and it's getting more and more important as technology advances, right? You know, having point solutions, best of breed solutions to deliver different outcomes for your organization delivers on those outcomes. That's what those solutions are built for. But what you end up with, in my opinion, is the silos, like you mentioned before, Jess, right? And silos of data, silos of process, silos of really everything, which means now your data is not all together. Parts of it maybe are together. You've got some integrations that may be running from piece to piece, but you end up with a lot of vendors supporting it. You end up with a lot of knowledge to support those applications spread out within the organization. And it can make it difficult over time, the more point solutions or best of breed solutions you start to add in. With a platform play, those things go away, right? But what's important with that platform play is to still deliver the outcomes that those point solutions, those best of breed solutions, are going to deliver. So it's not just a matter of standardizing on a platform and you're good to go. It's about standardizing on a platform that's going to help you actually run your business better and more efficiently than you did before. So if your data is together, you can report on it all together. Takes the risk out of those pieces. But it's really about being able to standardize into something that's going to help you run your organization more efficiently, more effectively, so you can make proactive decisions, not wait for integrations to run, not have to go run a report from here and here and do a pivot table to now run your business in Excel, but actually having that stuff so that you can make real time or proactive decisions around what you might need to do to pivot in certain scenarios, right?
Yeah. And Heather, I know with the challenges that we're facing in the industry, how do you see that coming together for the home builder side?
Yeah, I mean, all of the points, right? But one of the challenges for home builders in particular, and in other industries too, but focusing really on home builders, the none of the platforms, the big platforms out there, not Microsoft, not Oracle, not SAP, none of those big platform solutions really meet the needs of this industry, right? So if you took all of them off the shelf and you lined them all up and said which one fits home building the best, the answer is none of them. Home building is this weird B2C / B2B business, so business to consumer and business to business industry, right? Where we're doing a lot of heavy lifting in both. And so when we look at platform, we then have to look at what do you have to put on top, right? To bring the richness of the home building. And so I don't think it's okay to sacrifice the industry process and the industry needs for a platform. And so you have to have both. You have to have fit for industry and you have to have platform. And we're gonna, there's certain areas that the platforms are just not gonna, they're not a great fit for. And I think we're gonna get to BIM is one of our topics we want to talk about in 3D modeling. That's an example, right, where we've got to go layer in best of breed. But the more you put into the platform, the less failure points you have, the less overhead maintenance, the less ongoing IT costs that you're going to have in that thing, because it's going to work and connect to itself natively rather than having to make sure that there's some intersecting point. And I chuckled at Ryan's Excel comment. You know, good business process, I've always said, doesn't involve email and it avoids Excel. And I think I've probably softened on Excel and my stance on Excel over the years, but I still think that systems that rely on those external forces to make the process run really ripe for reconsideration, and looking at the platform first, I think, is always the best first step.
Yep.
Awesome.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Just to add one more point, you're 100% right, because what you end up with either a horizontal platform play that doesn't fit industry or a bunch of point solutions, you do end up running your business at some level within something like Excel, right? There's no doubt about it. And all the industries I've worked in over my career, I think I said this to Jess, you and Heather yesterday, was I always ask a question in the beginning of one of my first meetings with a prospect is who owns the Excel sheet? And they're like, what? Who owns the Excel sheet that literally all of your stuff comes together and that's where your decision is made from? Someone owns it and that runs your business, the majority of your business. There has never been one time that I've asked that question and someone doesn't raise their hand and everyone else in the room points to that one person. They all know who it is and that person knows they own it. That's where you don't want to be. And if you end up with too many best of breed solutions without that holistic plan to pull it all together, or that horizontal platform play, you will end up there, no doubt.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you guys right, what we're trying to avoid is that really high total cost of ownership, right? We're paying for a ton of different solutions. We're also having to mitigate the risk, right? When do you upgrade each one? How do those upgrades work together? We've also got like a data and decision-making point, right? Where those datas live, is it Excel? How do we then utilize that? But also like what kind of delay or restriction is that putting on the business, right? Where are we being challenged in our growth or capabilities to scale by having these different solutions?
Yeah, and I think the upgrade one is an interesting one, right? Because we don't live as much in the world of upgrades anymore, where when we have this broad platform that's solving lots of needs, we can move small pieces that are really putting us on an upward trajectory. So upgrades become less impactful over time. But I mean, we don't have to go that far back in history where we remember, okay, we're going to upgrade this, and then the integration to these 4 systems are going to break, and then you spend all of your time remediating that. That is time being spent just keeping it alive. That's not time spent transforming and innovating the business or adopting the latest and greatest technology, right? And so that's real time, that's real money, and it's real innovation, just lost to keeping things going. And then, you know, the person with the spreadsheet is going to come in and have to adapt and adjust their process too, but we may or may not have told them, right? So we've all lived that. And I think that the future is going to require us to really think about platform versus best of breed in a different light.
Yep.
And can I add one thing to that? The other
Sure.
thing with platform is we can't over customize our platforms anymore. And I've probably been saying this without a lot of traction for more years than I'm proud of, but I think over customizing a platform can put you into some of the drawbacks of a best of breed approach as well. AI really is going to accelerate the surfacing of who's over customized their platform. So if you're writing code that's not vendor supported, that I think is gonna hurt too, regardless of what platform you may be running.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I mean, customers used to always say, "Hey, I want this," or "I want it to do this," and we'd say, "Okay."
Okay.
And we'd make it do it because we could do that, right? Well, now you got to support it. Now upgrades are harder. All those kinds of things, integrations, whatever. The best question we can ask as a technology partner is why? Why do you want that? What are you trying to accomplish by thinking that that's the way to do it? Because what we need to make sure we're doing is we are peeling back those layers to get to the real business need, the business outcome that's being desired with whatever that request is, to figure out, hey, how do we solve that business outcome normally, right? This is how we can solve that for you out of the platform, out of what's there at a core. This is how we do it. Because otherwise you end up with something that's not truly supportable, and you end up with a custom solution, which isn't where you want to be in order to mitigate the risk, right? And so our best question is why, understand it, and make sure that the process that you've always followed, right? And I've dealt with that a lot is, hey, we want it to work this way. Why do you want it to work that way? That's how our old system worked. Awesome. Do you want the new system to work exactly like the old system? If so, why are you changing, right? Or do you want to be more efficient? And do you want to be better than you were on that old platform? And now this is how we can solve that for you, right? That is our job as a technology partner, to make sure we are asking those questions and solving the right problems, not symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Our other job as a technology partner is to rethink how we deliver product to the market, right? Because we're not just a consulting firm, right? We're a product company too. And that's something that, I mean, we've had round and round and round conversations about how we build faster, how we take feedback and apply it more quickly, right? We're using AI to write more and more code so that we can deliver those things faster. So I also think that as people are out shopping, looking, right, it's going to be really, really important that a software vendor can take feedback and apply it quickly. And that's something I probably, if anyone on my team is listening right now, they're probably going, yeah, Heather, we've heard you, right? We're constantly looking for ways we can deliver features back into the platform more quickly, because that then takes some of the friction out of the decision about why do you need this, and the challenge that we want to, take the friction out of implementation, of course. So I also think that's an important consideration point when you're looking at a platform or you're looking at a software vendor, is how quickly can they turn around a feature request.
I feel like we focused a lot on the business management side, but I think sales tools and how we engage with our customers and how we start, especially in the market that we're in right now with home building, is a really important part of this conversation. Do we have the right tools in place to understand the business and our products and how people are moving through communities? What demographics are buying, all of these different kind of key points of information that we're going to need in order to be able to drive movement, right? And increase those close rates. Do you guys have any thoughts around that?
Brian, you want me to take that?
Yeah, go for it.
Sales is sort of my baby for those that don't know me. Look, I think when we're looking at a sales solution, and really looking at any solution, but we'll drill in on sales because this is just a recurring theme in home building. My opinion on this is that your sales professionals that are out in the field that are talking to customers every day need to spend less time in systems and more time speaking to buyers and prospective buyers. So for every email they have to send to the design team to clarify or make sure they caught a detail in a buyer's choice, structural choices, for example, that is one less email that they could be sending or a phone call they could be making to the next prospective buyer. When we think about tools, right, I want sales professionals logging into one tool and their whole world happens in one spot, because that takes the friction out of their day where they're not having to pop over to whatever design's using, pop over to construction management to make sure they have everything they need to keep the project on schedule for permits, etc. Their world needs to happen in one spot. And I think this industry lags a little bit in the adoption of some of the robust tools that are available to support that mentality. And the last thing I want is salespeople in a financial system, because it's not designed for or geared toward them. They're mobile. They should be happening on their mobile devices, phone, tablet, etc., so that they can be walking through a model home alongside a prospective buyer and have all the tools and resources at their fingertips to support that conversation. Less is more in, I'm gonna genericize the statement, less is more in our field-based roles, right? The people who aren't sitting at a laptop like the three of us do all day long. They need less tools that are more efficient to enable that field-based work that happens. I think that applies largely to construction management, site superintendents, certainly our sales teams as well.
Less tools, less complexity,
Mm,
but better output, right? I mean,
yep.
obviously I'm a sales guy at heart, and so being optimized in that process of follow up, handoff, being clear in communications, all those kinds of things. It's actually a great opportunity around an agentic approach. I didn't say AI, but I did there, around an agentic approach to workflows, right? I mean, I answer emails all day long that honestly are very similar. Questions coming in from partners, from Microsoft, from whoever, where I'm given replies that are almost the same reply to the same topic, just from different people. There is opportunity there for optimization with AI workflows where those things can just kind of happen, right? If it's a handoff from one team to the next, there's no reason that an email has to be typed to do that handoff. But being able to optimize now that process, that sales process of the handoff to the next person, the next team, through the workflows of the platform, right?
Yeah.
A trigger event, whatever it may be, it's got the data, because remember, the data is all on the platform. It's not siloed out. So now it has what it needs to be able to go through and automate some of those workflows, to be able just to make sure those things happen. It's the very first part of that process when you talk about sales. It's the top of that beginning of any optimization. That's the spot where you can really start to get it going, right? Because as a salesperson, the more I can follow up, the more I can people I can reach out to during the day to follow up, talk with them, see how they're doing, check in on what's going on. The more touch points I'm going to get, the more I'm going to be able to sell, which is my goal, right? If I'm selling. So
Absolutely.
you don't have to log into 4 different systems to do it. You're going to be more efficient.
Yeah, I also think that when you're where was I going to go? It's unscripted, so now I lost my train of thought. I think when you're talking about that can be same think track can also be applied in other areas, right? Warranty comes to mind. The amount of emails and phone calls is sort of nauseating that a lot of those professionals sift through on a daily basis. The other big thing is prioritizing where we spend our time. Humans are traditionally not great at prioritizing the things that are hard. We're always going to like knock off the easy stuff. So we cross things off the list, right? Guilty as charged. Like Ryan's pointing at himself, me too, by the way. AI, I think, and I use it already to do this. It helps me really prioritize to force myself to get to the hard stuff. It in the context of sales, going back to where we started, it's easy to shoot a quick text message or email to the buyer we've been working with for 3 weeks or a month or what have you. It's a little bit harder to then go kind of start over with new buyers that are potentially interested in a community that we're selling in. So those types of AI is a great tool for kind of breaking some of those human behaviors and helping us prioritize what is going to move the needle, right? Ryan and I had a great debate internally amongst ourselves about what moves the needle from a business perspective, and typically they're going to fall into 2 categories: increase revenue, reduce costs. It's about that simple. So if we can help our sales consultants to drive more revenue using the same marketing spend, using the same time, right? We're not asking them to work more hours to sell more stuff. Those types of fundamentals help us in a soft market, but those types of fundamentals also help us when the market's good. And I know we like to react to the bad market, but this isn't just about surviving, what is historically most likely a downturn for a couple of years. It helps us again drive more revenue when the market does make its turnaround.
That's awesome. I'd love to talk a little bit more about some of the agentic AI and some of the things that we're looking at specifically on our platform. If you want to tell us a couple of the nice things we're doing, Heather.
Yep. I was going to take a drink of water, but we'll put that aside for the second. Yeah, this is something I've spent a lot of my own time, right, when we want to talk about how we prioritize over the last 12 to 18 months. And so here's what I've learned in a couple of sentences. AI isn't magic. It's not all exactly new. Some of it's been around for many years, but its adoption is probably not quite what we're seeing in the potential for having in the future. And so those are a couple of truths that I hold dear before I say what I'm going to say. So we'll get into the kind of the real, like, what's there, and I'll give you a little bit of a preview of what's coming. So today we have a solution really focused on our colleagues in purchasing to help them make better decisions and get better access to faster data and faster data analysis around building materials and building material pricing. So we actually champion this with one of our longtime customers, Thomas James Homes. They kind of fed us the real business scenarios, and they made their executive team available to kind of bring this thing to life. But what does it do? In its most simple form, it's going to take data from either a third-party source or third-party sources, and it's going to combine that with what you're really paying across different cost categories, all the way down to very minute parts if you want to go that low, when we did with Thomas James. And it says, in a given market, the benchmark price is X and you've paid Y. That's pretty basic data analytics. But then we take it further to say, you know, reanalyze this. If we could drop our 2x4 pricing by 5 cents a 2x4, extrapolate that out over our sales forecasts, extrapolate that out over the number of communities we're building in, and it starts to really shift those numbers into what does this really save us. And so the interesting story that was kind of came out of that example is there was one division where they were about to go rebid a contract, and they were convinced they were paying more than the market, and that they had a better deal in a different market. And so they were trying to get those two in alignment. And what we found with real data is the opposite. They were actually underpaying in the market they thought they were overpaying, and overpaying in the market they thought they were underpaying. So we think about if we had just gone off of gut, which is what a lot of builders are doing, right? Their margin would have went down overall because they probably would have ended up paying too much in one area and too much in the other area as well. And so using real data, not relying on gut instinct, is making margin improvements, material margin improvements in their business. And they've since found other scenarios where similar stories have played out. And so as we kind of launched that, there's tools out there that do it today. Not all of them will allow you to aggregate, and so there was some technology learnings along the way too there that we're certainly happy to share. The other one that we've recently just announced is option take rate analysis. So we have an agent that will look at options that are sitting in our option availabilities, either by community, by division, by whatever you want to slice it by, and show us what people are actually buying and what they're not. So if we have options in our portfolio that people aren't really buying, there's an overhead management cost to having those there. Conversely, if there's ones that are very popular, but the margin is low, that's a problem too. So the agent will go through all of that analysis. It does it lightning fast too, which is like the coolest part. It would take less time for the agent to crunch through it than it would for someone to open a browser, log into Power BI, find the right report, change the filters to what they want. The agent's coming back with it like lightning fast. And then the ability to go in and reanalyze, drill down, pull back up, all happens within seconds, and in the way that people are already working, which is largely Teams, Outlook. Like those are the tools that someone looking at that information would want to see. Next iteration for that is pushing sort of a next best action to our design center consultant. So using the same agent, right, having it feed to a design consultant what a buyer might choose when they're going through a build to order option selection process based on what other people have chosen. I'm not in a model home. This is actually my home, right? My home is, I've got gray walls, I've got white trim, I've got white cabinets. Like though the buyer that picks that is most likely to pick ABC backsplash in their kitchen, right? We tend not to veer too far or want to veer too far. We can also add budget constraints to those next best action or next best choice suggestions as well. And then last but certainly not least, the one I'm probably most excited about that is not published, so the 20-ish people on this call are going to hear it first. We are in, I'm going to say, the late stages of development on a field work order agent that will allow a site superintendent to talk to Copilot and do things like create work orders, make adjustments to schedules, just with a cell phone and their voice as they're walking through a community or driving, probably not driving through a community. That's probably not a great recommendation, but really taking the friction out of that human that's out in the field, that it's uncomfortable for them to find an hour or 2 hours in their day to go back and type. They can walk and talk, and those processes are happening in the system without them having to sit at a computer, laptop, tablet, what have you.
And that was really cool. We got to preview that at IBS, and that got a lot of really good reception, right? Because those are the people that don't want to be sitting at the laptop. They have so much to do. It's like, hey, just help me get this out. Let me get this done and move on with the rest of the things I have to do in my day, because I've got this checklist that's a mile long, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was really exciting.
Absolutely. And I think that has future legs of being able to take pictures and analyze, where a personal story, I built a house years ago, and the door to my office was not center, and no one caught it until like the final walkthrough. And I was like, that door is not center. And they went, oh, that's really hard to fix. Like, being able to take pictures and analyze those pictures for variances from the floor plan as drawn, like that's not outside the realm of possibilities either. There's lots we can do to support superintendents getting off laptops and keeping them in the field, which is where most of them want to be.
Interesting, because everything you talked about, Heather, with AI is it went from what I would call wall to wall, right? Because in my mind, there's two different types of AI conversations that we have with organizations. One is about boosting productivity and speeding up daily tasks and optimizing around just those kinds of things. The other piece is the true innovation that's going to help drive growth and minimize risk and really help differentiate organizations, right?
Mhm.
The examples that you gave kind of go across that, which is what a real AI story should do. It shouldn't just live on one side or the other. Now, depending on the organization, depending on the understanding of AI and the art of what's possible within that organization related to that, and whoever it is that you're talking to, like what is their role within the organization, right? The desires and the wants from some AI solutions generally are going to live on one side of that or the other, but the true
Mhm.
magic is when they cross over, because they should complement each other, right?
Yeah.
The true story, the true drive there is about end-to-end optimization using AI. It's not just about sending faster emails or being able to do those kinds of things quicker. It's really, at the end of the day, it's about differentiation and being able to drive innovation and scalability. At the end of the day, we're all in business to make money, and it really comes down to reducing costs and increasing profits, right? That is what it should be there for, and focused on how you can optimize from that wall to wall.
Yeah.
Clarity of agility.
Absolutely. Can we talk a little bit about how people are buying AI in some of the conversations that we had, not necessarily what we heard in sessions, but a little bit more about what we heard on the expo floor, because some of that was interesting. And Ryan, I don't know if you want to, I teed that one up. So now I'm playing moderator.
Is that the I want to buy AI, what do you have?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
conversation?
Show me your AI. And
Yeah.
it's an interesting, we heard it a lot, and it's probably the wrong question. So you want to take that one?
No,
I'll
but
add color.
it's a valid question, because again, what that right there says, I want to buy AI. Cool. Okay. To do what? Right? Obviously, we're at a home builder show, so I got that part of it. But what's your role? What's your problem? What are you trying to solve? Like, you can't just throw an AI solution into what you're doing. You end up with another point solution, best of breed solution around AI. What's the goals? What are you trying to solve? What are you trying to do? Where do you need to optimize? Where's your risk at that you're trying to mitigate? Where are things breaking down? Where are you, like those? It's what I've learned in the last, and I'm learning every day in every conversation. Let's be honest, because this technology's changing faster than anything I've ever dealt with in my career. But what I'm seeing in almost every discussion is that around AI specifically, the knowledge is all over the place, the understanding is all over the place. We all self-educate around a lot of things on a daily basis. Depending what article you pull up, what website you're reading, you are gonna educate yourself more on what AI is in that scenario. But the question is it right? Are you getting the right answers? Are you asking the right questions to get the right answers? We actually just had a session this morning, I think it was, Heather, where we were going through some stuff. And we had 4 people using some AI tools to try to optimize something we were working on. Depending how you ask the question, how you prompt it, you're going to get back different answers for that same exact question with the same exact content. So knowing how to use it, knowing what you're trying to get out of it, knowing what you're trying to solve is going to matter dramatically in if you walk up and say, show me your AI, that's going to matter dramatically in how I approach that conversation and what I show you, because it's got to matter to you. It's got to hit what you think you know or what you understand around AI and what it can do for you. So what I'm getting at is part of our, again, jobs here as a technology partner is to lay the right foundation of knowledge and education into what AI is and isn't, especially with the industry angle, so that from there we can make sure we're chasing the right things with you to solve the right problems.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that's muddied the waters for businesses in particular is overnight, what feels like. In the last 12 to 18 months, we have seen a massive surge in new businesses, new technology solutions that are AI built and that they're selling AI. And some of those, the price, am I losing?
No, it's little pieces though. Like what you're getting at is you got AI within a point solution, and it's gonna do AI in one little part of that, of whatever it does, right? As opposed to a holistic AI plan.
Yep. And the barrier to entry is low because the price is low, and that's intentional. I mean, that is intentional. But that's not really moving the entire business forward in a thoughtful, measurable way.
So Jess, just real quick, I know, I haven't seen any questions come through yet, but just a reminder for everyone that's on the call, if you do have questions, pop them into the chat there and we can talk about them as we're going through. Or if you don't agree with something we said, put that in there too. Let's talk about it. We want to try to make it as interactive as possible.
Okay, let's see. Yep. Perfect. Yeah. Bring them all in. We would love to hear your thoughts on the topic. I want to circle back to some of those point solution conversations we had, Heather, and you had talked about a BIM solution, which I think is really important for all our builders, right? Having something to be able to, to render the solutions, to show clients different things. Where do we try to delineate, what is a good choice in terms of best of breed? Is there anything that we really should be tracking in that lens?
Yeah, I think the BIM world belongs in best of breed. I just the platform, none of the platforms natively have. Well, let me make it a little less generic. The technology that goes into the 3D modeling, the image rendering, right? It's not our strong suit. We don't have people sitting around who specialize in that, and I think that technology companies that are doing that work, they have those people, they have a deep understanding of how that works, and it is wildly different than business applications and AI. So BIM is certainly one of those, and I think it's a topic that recurs for us because people come and ask us, what solution do you guys work with the most? What's the best? And I don't like mine. What do you recommend? And so lots of thoughts, lots of opinions out there in the space. I don't know that for me as a technologist that there's any one solution that I say go here. So we're not there with a formal recommendation. But I do think it's an area in the home building industry that's ripe for innovation, for someone to come in and do it differently. One of the biggest barriers to entry is the management and upkeep of it, right? For the images to be rendered, they have to have a starting point. And if I had a hope for 2026, I hope that someone builds an AI solution to help render those images with less input from builders, so that those solutions become more within reach for more organizations. I think for smaller organizations, it's just so far out of reach because of the upkeep and management and the imagery required to run them. There's a couple I'm watching that are small and might tip the scales, but I think it's best to breed. It's best to breed all day long. But one of the things that I will say with BIM, and we've seen this go in a couple different directions with varying degrees of success, that much of the data that is required to run those is going to live in your core operational system. Specifically option availabilities, the name, what can you pick on what floor plan, what can't you pick, what's included, what's not included. That data has to have its primary system of record be your back end system, because it has to be directly tied to pricing, and they should not be trying to fill the gap of pricing and options management. That's operational systems. That's the lifeblood of a home builder, and so leave that in your system. That is the brains of the operation, if you will. But they need to be able to ingest that information and then act upon it. And I think that's really the best approach that we've seen. When we try to go the other way, it breaks more often than it's successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other one is any kind of architectural drawings, CAD drawings, floor plan systems. Like, those are just highly specialized tools. They're not platform solutions. They don't belong in the platform, but again, your platform should connect to them where needed, potentially.
Yeah.
What I mentioned earlier, by the way, the innovative strategic advantage pieces of AI versus the optimization productivity pieces. When you're talking about solutions like that, where you've got trigger points and handoffs and things from the core system, the brains of the business, as you mentioned earlier, using some agentic AI workflows, you can actually, instead of having to do full integrations into stuff like that, you can use AI there to be that integration and that trigger point, right? So you could have whatever event it is within the platform. Now it's got to trigger something within design, things like that. Boom, it just happens there without APIs and flat files. And what did you say the other day, Heather? If you're talking about
FTP file transfers.
Yeah, right. We don't want to do any of that, right? But this then autonomously can kick off those things and communicate both ways to pull back in updates, whatever it is. But instead of another solution running middleware, whatever, trying to do those integration points, the platform and the AI experience within that platform now becomes that piece.
Certainly can be. I do think, though, that your systems, and this is something we run into, right? For AI to be most efficient and most effective in the way that Ryan just described as, the holy grail, I do think that all your best of breed systems have to be API enabled. They have to be built on modern architecture, and they don't have to be. Let me walk that back. I'm going to walk it back in a really big way. They don't have to be, but the output, the outcome of building agents on top of those systems is going to be better if those systems are built on modern architecture. So what I said that Ryan was recalling is if you're running your integrations with CSV files and FTP file transfers, come jump in. The water's warm. There's a way better way to do it. Not to mention the security implications, the security risks that those often do represent. I think we're going to get to security before the end here. So I don't want to go too far in that direction, but those AI tools are going to work better on modern architecture than something that is relying on old methods and protocols. So that's something I think to really drill in on when you're looking at potentially making a change to those solutions.
Sure. That's really good. Well, my next question was going to be a lot more around, some of that adoption, right? As businesses are looking to adopt these AI motions and build this into how they're going to work and how they future-proof themselves, right? Ryan, coming from a C-level position and working through those things within our company and, all of that, like, how do you see that as a structure of culture or as a kind of an enablement for change for organizations?
Yeah, I mean, change management is one of the most important pieces of any sizable project when you're changing technology or doing anything like that. Like, if you don't pay attention to the change management pieces and the user adoption, chances are it's not going to work. At least it's not going to work the first time, right? People need to understand things and they need to know what it means for what they're used to doing and how they're used to doing it and all those pieces. And if you don't handle that education change management piece early and throughout the longevity of whatever that is, it's going to be really, really hard, right? So that's number one. Number two, I believe my opinion is that you don't have to start with something that's big. You don't have to go prove it out with something that is going to move the needle tomorrow. What I believe organizations should be looking at doing is how to make improvements and continue to improve and chunk out those improvements. Because if you do a bunch of little ones, now you've moved the needle a little bit more. But while you've done that, you've also increased the knowledge and understanding and the education to make that next chunk even better, right? So what I, it's don't. Heather's got a bunch of sayings that I love. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Is that the right one, Heather? I believe it is. So we as people spend so much time trying to figure out how to make things exactly what we want them to be and how to make it have all the impact that we think it should have. If we were to focus instead on building up to that, I mean, it doesn't have to be little tiny ones, but you take that apart into three pieces, whatever that is, your risk mitigation is much better now, and you can start to add those in and build upon it. Because if you don't build the foundation of knowledge and understanding and acceptance with something like AI, then the rest of it is going to be super, super, super hard to do.
Yeah. And I think that's where, as like a thing, right? AI has been seen as a failure in a lot of places because people are trying to boil the ocean, right? Let's see what we can do to make our lives better, just like you said, in iterative steps, right? Sorry, Heather, go ahead. I know you had a thought.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Perfection is the enemy of progress every day, every single day of the week. And I think that when I say that to people, what I really, if I double click on that, right? What I mean is it doesn't have to be everything to all people. I'm gonna probably overshare on a personal level a little bit. For me personally, even though I live in this world all day, every day, it's all I talk about and it's all I do for 10 plus hours a day. The whole like how to prompt AI was really uncomfortable. Like it felt weird. It was like a Google search, but it wasn't a Google search. And I have to tell this thing what I want it to do. And I started thinking about it as like, how would I tell an executive assistant to do something, right? And once I changed that mentality, I found it was way more powerful than I originally thought. But I sit here with the benefit of having had an executive assistant at points in my career, right? Where most people probably haven't. I promise you that the site superintendent hasn't. So there's a learning curve to learn how to prompt in a way that's going to give you back the valuable result that you're looking for. And so I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say if you haven't enabled people with the M365, the Microsoft 365 Copilot agent, and you haven't provided real training on how to think about this thing, and that it's not a Google search for enterprise, right? It's more than that. You're not tracking how they're using it, because Microsoft will actually give you a score on how well people score in using it, and it's based on frequency and depth of prompt and how many prompts and all of that. I think list price on that, Ryan, you're probably gonna tell me I'm wrong, is $30 a user a month. Like, start to roll that out. And I will say one of the things I was not happy about the way sa.global did this at the time, but in hindsight, it worked really well. We rolled it out little by little. It wasn't like spray and pray, everybody's got it all at once. It was team by team, person by person, sometimes individual, sometimes by team, sometimes by region. And I think that it gave us a better vocabulary to teach each other, to share what works, and to really measure true adoption, because it's not just how many questions are you asking it, it's how deep are you, how much are you really making it replace work for you. So if you just want to dive in to the deep end and get started, I think that's an easy way to kind of cut your teeth and drive some adoption as to what this thing can do for some roles, certainly not every role. Then we have to get into the really industry specific stuff as well. And it's just, it's a low cost, low failure, low risk. You can buy it month to month, you can buy it for a year. And yeah, I mean, for people like me, I use Copilot. I use the Microsoft 365 Copilot every day. I couldn't function without it.
Absolutely correct. Yeah, I view it as almost onboarding a new team member. Like, how would I, if I had someone start and I needed to get them kind of going with what I needed or how I phrase things or whatever, I got to spend a little bit of time on the front end to work out that communication. But now, after not very long, they know me. They know what I need. They know what's going on. So when I ask a question, they're going to be able to answer it faster. That's kind of the way that I've looked at my journey of trying to use M365 Copilot just for my daily optimization stuff. In the beginning, I had to figure out who it was and how to talk to it. Now I can fire things at it and it sends it right back, and it's the way I was looking for it, right? It's learned what I need. So that's been phenomenal for me on a day-to-day basis. Jess, there's a question in here. I don't know if you saw it or not. Okay.
Yeah. So this goes back to what we've kind of built in on top of the HomebuilderONE platform. We've talked about a couple of the different agents that we've built already, and some that are more in a pre-preview status. What is our kind of overall plan? Do we continue looking at additional agents? Do we want to start taking some builder feedback from the client base? Like, what is our kind of overall strategy for keeping that motion going?
I mean, I'll answer from the all-up version if you want. Yeah.
You answer this in 2 parts, because I think when most people think like agents is going the way of AI, like pretty soon people are going to be like, show me your agents, right? And I think we think about it in 3 different tiers. Like, can you kind of give a brief overview, and then I'll go into the specific, what does it look like for home building in particular?
Yeah, I mean, a room full of agents isn't the long-term answer, right? Agents are specific pieces to execute on certain things. What you will start to see, and the answer is, yeah, we're going to build more agents. We're going to build more agents for specific pieces. Is that the all the strategy? No, that's part of the strategy, because sometimes you need to solve a specific problem, or go after a certain workflow or whatever it may be. That's where an agent by agent type thing starts to come into play. What you're going to start to see is AI being a part of everything that we're doing. Some of that will mean it leans on an agent. Some of that will mean it leads on a larger, like, agentic workflow type approach that is autonomous behind the scenes. There's going to be a mixture of things that complement the whole story. So yes and no, right? You're gonna, Heather and Jess opened up this conversation talking about some specific agents that we either demoed at IBS or that we've got coming out soon. There will be more of that, but those agents working in conjunction together with native AI pieces just in the software now is how we start to complement. So I think led with AI is going to be something that you hear more and more, because when we start looking just as an organization, as software vendors, and this isn't just for sa.global and HomebuilderONE, when you're looking at true software vendors out in whatever industry it's in, you are going to see AI components now embedded within features, functions, and just the overall technology. Some of that is agents, some of that is not. That answer that? I hope.
Yeah, no, that was good. So yes, as I mentioned, we have two currently. One coming soon. Someone would probably tell you it's on my desk to make some decisions, and I'm gonna make them soon, very soon. And I actually think that the field work order one that's not yet published is probably one of the most exciting ones that we've built to date. So we definitely want to put that out there. There's two, like, we're gonna split in two different directions. There's a really interesting case to add AI into data migration for clients wanting to migrate from their current platform to HomebuilderONE. I want to put a little bit more brain power in that, because it is one of the most expensive parts about coming over to HomebuilderONE. And so if we can make that faster, cheaper, and drive a better outcome, I think everybody would say that that's good. It also benefits our customers who find themselves in M&A cycles where they've bought a builder and then now they need to migrate them in, so there's some existing customer leverage there as well. We have to get a little bit more R&D on that one before I can say it becomes real. And then what Ryan talked about is embedding the AI into the business application itself. That will be the other kind of fork in the road as to where we go spend a lot of time. If there's somebody out there who says, I have a great idea for an agent, please send that my way. We do have a list of about, I think at last count, it was over 20 different agents. What we're trying to do is streamline and build those so that there's going to be really a flood of them that builders are able to take up. If you're not running HomebuilderONE and you say, Heather, I don't want to make the commitment to move over, but I want that agent running on my legacy platform, that's not outside the realm of possibilities either. Touch more expensive, if I'm honest, but super doable. So if that's where you are, we're happy to meet you where you are. But yeah, I'd love those emails of what agents you want to see next, or what role in the business you think is the most important for agents, and we'll certainly take that. My goal is by the end of this first quarter, so by the end of the month, that we're publishing a roadmap of exactly what and when. But we're not quite there. I need a little bit more back from our R&D folks.
So I think that's super important what you said, because each outcome that we're talking about does not have to be its own agent. I want to clarify that for a second, right? There are things that go together, an agent can expand. So as an example, I did an internal call this morning around some AI optimization for us as an organization. And it was focused on the sales teams and the art of what's possible. and we went through kind of what a sales assistant agent could look like. By the time we were done talking about all the things, it went from email follow-up, note-taking on calls, to CRM updates for us. Okay. That isn't all going to happen at the same time. That becomes a sales agent, but then you start to expand out the capabilities of that sales agent, right? So, that would be the goal, because what we don't want is 150 different agents that do one little thing that you got to plug into everything. We want to focus on the primary pillars of an organization or an industry, and then create agents under those pillars in that industry that now are executing on certain things. Okay. Yeah, I think we are almost out of time. Do we have guesses on AI?
We are about there. I
Yeah.
am curious. There's always one person that counts, I feel like. And so
Taking little tick marks. Yeah.
I love
Please
this.
put your guesses in, and we'll go ahead and aggregate those, and we'll let you know. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, Heather, Ryan. Our email addresses were on that slide. Reply into the webinar invite, and we'd love to further the conversation with you. And we really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah.
Fun.
Take
Nice.
care. Bye.